Welcome to the Diverse Minds podcast, where we give you the tips, tools, and techniques you need to be a mentally healthy and inclusive leader. Each week, you'll hear about a variety of topics linked to mental health, well-being, and diversity that will enhance both your professional practice and personal well-being. Welcome to the 208th episode of the award-winning Diverse Minds podcast. Today's episode is all about celebrating the 4th birthday of the podcast and 208 full episodes of the show. I want to share with you key things I've learned over the year from episodes 158 to today's episode. And here we are into the Diverse Minds podcast and over 200 episodes. Speaking of sharing, and maybe you prefer video, have you watched my TEDx talk? It's about the connection between culture, race, and mental health, and it's now live. It's something you can watch in your break as it's just 12 minutes long, and the link is in the show notes, but I'll also give it to you here. It is bit.ly/TEDx Wolves, that's WOLVESLO. I really hope you enjoy it because it was a labor of love. And if you enjoy it, please leave a positive comment on YouTube, share, and like. Okay, so celebrating the 4 years. And if you missed it, don't forget, you can download 200 podcast episode guide, which lists all the previous 200 episodes with links to each one so you can listen straight away. And that link is bit.ly/DMPG23. And yeah, do check out the show notes if you didn't catch that. So in this episode, I want to share with you, as I always do, a recap from last year's worth of episodes and provide an update. So if you are a long-term listener, you will know in 2021, I decided that the podcast was going to cover the following themes: race equity, mental health, Black global majority diaspora women of color, and to share my own personal journey or the personal journeys of others. And I created mini-series last year around a theme topic each month. And this year we've covered the following, starting in September 2022. Personal development, Black History Month, and the theme for Black History Month in the UK in October was time for change, action, not words. November was nutrition and mental health. December for Disability History Month was disability and intersectionality. January was injustice and poverty. Of course, February in the UK is LGBTQ plus History Month. So we had LGBTQ plus History Month and intersectionality. March was stopping inclusion mistakes. So stop making inclusion mistakes at work. April, we had a mix of episodes. So I did a recap on 100 Days of Happiness, and we had some other bits and bobs. And then for Mental Health Awareness Month, we had anxiety, climate crisis, and injustice. June is men's health, and we had men's health and overcoming challenges, friendship and mental health, and South Asian History Month. So if any of those seem tempting to you, please go and have a look. And don't forget, the podcast guide can help you with that. I didn't win any awards for the podcast this year, nor did I judge, but it's been sort of heads down and just trying to keep the episodes going, make sure that they're as interesting as possible for you. And of course, there is the British Podcasting Awards, which is really for big corporate podcasts, not small people like me. You know, congratulations to everyone who's been nominated for that. It looks like a phenomenal lineup. And total number of downloads to date is 39,259. So thank you to everyone who listens. And as I always do each year, we're going to go through the most popular episodes. So starting with top 10, otherwise we'll be here all night, won't we? So at number 10 is episode 110, Tackling Anti-Blackness in South Asian Communities. And thank you to South Asian History Month on LinkedIn for resharing that post. That got a lot of interest. Episode number 9 is episode 145, Work-Life Balance 1, Teacup Energy Drainers. And remember, that's a 4-part series. So if you want to go back, it's episodes 145, 146, 147, 148. And also don't forget my online course, The Mentally Healthy Leading Professional, which picks up on all the things I talk about in those 4 podcast episodes. At number 8 is episode 126, which is the book review, The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. So yeah, if you don't have time to read the book, it's an intense book. It's brilliant though. Then you could listen to that one. At number 7 is episode 109, 8 Ways to Create Culturally Inclusive Meetings. And that was very popular. Number 6, and this is the only guest episode that's made it into the top 10, is episode 111, Black Women in Menopause with the wonderful Nina Kuipers. And just want to give her a big shout out actually, because there was a time, in the last 12 months where I was really struggling, and she just she didn't know, but she emailed me out of the blue, and then she said, "How are you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm not great." And she said, "You know what, Layla, remember the path of least resistance is still a path." So I just wanted to thank her so much for that. She comes in at episode number 6 and does phenomenal work. So do check out Black Women in Menopause. At number 5 is episode 108. What's the big deal with cultural appropriation? So yes, that's a sort of another hot topic. Episode number 4 is episode 107, another book review, The Culture Map by Erin Meyer. Really great book. I use it a lot when I do training on cultural awareness. So if you're interested in that, do get in touch. Number 3 is the trailer, the Diverse Minds podcast, the trailer. So that will be from August 2019. My goodness, that was launched as a teaser. At number 2 is episode 37, Why Bother with Inclusive Language? And there is an accompanying blog that goes with that. And interestingly, please keep your eyes out, because I'm going to be launching something really exciting in September for National Inclusion Week about that. And then at number 1 is still episode 39, Resilience and Mental Health. And that has been on the top spot for a very, very, very long time. My understanding is I think it might be a requisite of some kind of youth course, because I do get some people subscribing to the newsletter from it. Yes. So again, really interesting, isn't it? The mix. What are your thoughts? As always, you can get in touch with me and let me know what you think. And then the top 3 listening methods are Spotify number 1, Apple Podcasts, and then Simplecast. And in terms of countries, at number 10, the countries that listen most frequently, at number 10 is the Netherlands, number 9, Germany, number 8, Italy, number 7, France, number 6, Australia, number 5, Spain, number 4, Ireland, number 3, Canada, number 2, United States. And actually, number 2 is at 10%. So at a big whopping 71% of listeners is the United Kingdom. Surprise, surprise. Not really, right? Because it's very UK focused. But I like to share stats because I know people enjoy listening to them too, and hearing what they're hearing, where people listen from. And other podcasts I've been on over this 12-month period is And Happiness podcast with the brilliant Claudia Mitura, talking about how you can stay happy while experiencing challenges. Damien Andrews' eShare podcast talking about gender equity. The wonderful Mark Smith in Baltimore, USA on the process. And do check out his episode with me for Men's Health Month in June. And then Thasmin Suleiman's SEO Mindset podcast. And that was following my attendance being guest speaker at Women in SEO Fest. So I hope that's been useful to you. And, I think the podcast is all about giving you access if you can't afford to work with me or purchase training or don't have control over the corporate purse strings. I try to provide tools, tips, and support so that anyone can access the information. And of course, there are always lessons that I've learned. So again, thank you to everyone who has listened and supported and shared episodes. I can't tell you how much that means to me. And please, if you do find anything useful, I'm so grateful for you sharing, getting other people to listen. You don't need to ask my permission. They are a publicly available resource, so please do share away. It would be great, wouldn't it, to have 10,000 downloads a week, but I'm not a celebrity, as much as I'd love to have that. But engaged followers make a huge difference. And I want to thank big thank you to all the guests who give up their time. I get approached by about 2 or 3 people a week wanting to come on the show. And in fact, if you listened to my episode 205 with the wonderful Pinky Guardiali, she approached me on LinkedIn and we actually got to meet face to face, and that was brilliant. So please, do feel free to reach out. It's just that I can't obviously take everyone, and I also have to make sure that everyone has to complete a form so I know the motivations. And in fact, a funny story, there was someone who contacted me who was not really the profile of people I have on the podcast, given the topics and given that, there's a very specific remit and message I want to get out there. And they were a very young, I think very used to having their voice heard, a very young young man, and didn't follow the process and just said, I don't have to listen to your podcast. I don't need to do that. Or can you just have me on the show? So if you do want to come on the show, then please, there is a process, there is a form to complete. But I love hearing from people, but just please know I can't take everyone on. But a huge thank you to all the guests who give up their time and have these great conversations with me. And we end up normally being friends for quite a long time. So it's great meeting and connecting. Going forward until January, it's going to be the same in terms of the overarching themes. Of course, they're going to be slightly different in terms of the mini-series that we have. There's some topics that I know that I haven't covered. So mental health and religion, mental health and writing, and some, this year's Black History Month is all about soul sisters. So gosh, I've got such a pool of people to choose from, and juicy content planned in so you can dip in and access what interests you. Now, there might be, I don't want to say too much, but there might be some changes going forward in January, but I'll let you know closer to the time. And of course, if there is anything you want me to talk about or anything you think, she could do better, you can leave me an anonymous voice note, much like you would on WhatsApp. But instead of giving out my number, it is a link and you can go to that and you can record me a voice note. You don't have to leave your name. And it's on SpeakPipe and it's bit.ly/SPKPDMP. So I really, as always, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Do connect with me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. It's my name, Layla Okai, or the handle at Diverse Minds UK. And do remember the 200 episode podcast guide. And also don't forget the Mentally Healthy Leaning Manager ebook that you will get when you subscribe to my mailing list, which is bit.ly/DMMCHSU. So thank you once again, and don't forget to check out the 200 as well. I meant to say the 200th episode with the wonderful Dr. Jonathan Ashong-Lamptey, where we celebrate it. And actually it's because of him that I started a podcast. So it was really apt to do that. And just thank you again. And please keep talking to me. Please keep sharing the content. It really has been a passion project. I started off because I didn't really want to write blogs. I wanted to talk instead. People who will know me will find that hysterical because they know how much I like talking. But yes, so do get in touch. And, I'm always here and I'd love to work with you and hear what you think. So until the next episode, we're going to kick off September with a series on writing and mental well-being. I wish you all the best and take care of yourselves. And thank you again for being listeners.
Thanks for listening to the Diverse Minds podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you access your podcasts from. You can also connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Tune into next week's episode of the podcast, where I'll bring you more insights on mental health and inclusion. Bye for now.